welcome Atlanta United family to our bi-weeklies right now episodes this off season. We're here just with Tyler for the moment. He's only going to be joining us for probably about a half hour or so, and then we're waiting for Tommy. He's having a little bit of a holdup, but hey, he'll be here shortly. Don't forget, to follow us on Feel Sports Podcast. And you could also follow Tyler Pilgrim. He's part of the crew from Dirty South Soccer. You can find him there. Read his articles. He's got a lot of Atlanta United stuff that came out throughout the season. And we finally have some Atlanta United related news to bring to you guys. So Tyler, there was, a big move, or I guess quote unquote big move, made this off season. So far, we had George Campbell, who was traded for some GAM money, some general allocation money, which basically, it could go up to what, $900,000. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that has to do a lot with minutes played, stuff like that. So it's a big move for him, for the club. I'm pretty sure a lot of people agreed on this, that it was like a win-win situation for everybody. I'm pretty sure he's going to be playing more there. He's going to be getting the opportunity to, get more playing time and everything. And obviously, the fact that you got that much money for him, it's also a big deal because he's a relatively young guy, and you just don't. I personally didn't see something like that, like a deal like that being pulled off.
No, it kind of came out of nowhere, and because it's 600,000, and then plus an additional 300, depending on yeah, like you said, certain uh, performance based incentives. So take that for what it's worth for a center back. But yeah, for George, it's great because he was kind of titled as the Miles Robinson replacement at one point. He's been great in his growth. He definitely got kind of thrown into the fire this past season in 2022, and it's not that he did bad, but he was just very inconsistent. There's times where he came up big, and in the past couple of seasons, and he really looked like he was progressing really well. But you got to remember his age too. He's still super young, so you've got Alan Franco, you've got Miles potentially returning, as soon as the season starts, if not a little later. You got Parada, who came in July and put his stamp on the team for sure. And then you've got guys in the back now coming up like Noah Cobb and Efrain Morales. So that center back spot is actually getting pretty,
Contested.
Yeah, contested. I mean, there's just a lot of depth, which that's a good thing. But $900,000, man, for a guy who didn't really see much of the field in the last half of the year, and I mean, we know his quality, but he was inconsistent, and it didn't really seem like next season he was going to be getting much time. I don't think. I mean, that's a good chunk of change. And honestly, Montreal probably turn around and if he does well, they could make that back and then some, moving on later on down the road. But I mean, I think it's a good move for everybody, like you said.
Yeah, and the thing that with the center back position, yeah, I mean, you have Miles coming back, and Parada has it. I'm off the top of my head, I don't remember if it was actually made official that he's staying, but I mean, there was some clues or something that kind of gave it away that he was going to be staying or something.
Yeah, I asked. I haven't got a hard answer on it yet, but his loan, I think, was actually through the summer of next year. So this coming summer window. So we know he'll be here at least for the first half of the season. There was like a weird push notification that popped up on I think it was FOTMob or something that showed up, and it said Atlanta United signs Juan Parada, but it didn't say anything else like details. And then when you clicked on it, it didn't show an article or anything. So take that for what it's worth. But talking with him like in the locker room last season, and then of course hearing what Pineda had to say about him and everything. I mean, I would imagine he would be locked down. I would. This is just me, my opinion entirely, but if you're going to offload one of those like quote unquote starting three center backs, I think you unload Franco personally because of his hit and everything, his cap hit, and you get somebody that's more consistent. Because if you want to talk about inconsistency, I mean, Alan Franco, when he's on and he's great. But we've seen the past 2 seasons, he's had some egregious mistakes. And I mean,
like at the beginning of the season too, is like it's not more like towards the end of it where he starts like really getting serious about business.
yeah,
Honestly,
he takes like months to really get into the form that you expect out of him. And if he could string together an entire year's worth of performance like that, it'd be great. But I mean, we've had him 2 seasons now, and he hasn't done that. So I think then you take that extra, especially now that you've got this good trade that you just made, as far as general allocation money. Go get you a legit veteran center back somewhere. Bring in somebody to add a little bit of veteran experience to that back line that's going to help propel everybody in front of them.
yeah. And speaking of veterans, I mean, you have a guy like Derek Etienne, who also got announced. I don't remember if we talked about him on here. I'm pretty sure we haven't. But
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta United, officially announced him. I mean, there was that YouTube video, something, that thing that got leaked or whatever about him and stuff. Obviously it was already given away that he was going to be getting signed with Atlanta United, and then it turned out to be true. They announced it and everything, and it was official. And it's the type of signings that honestly you're trying to get, guys that are gonna be stepping up when things get basically kind of heated or they just start going downhill. I mean, I'm not saying that the season is just going to be bad, but it's just like certain points where you're down a goal or something, the team is lacking, winning 50-50 balls, stuff like that. You just got to have that attitude where the leaders, the veterans, they just have to be the ones stepping up. And Atlanta United it's been a young team for the last 2 years, basically.
Yeah.
And you just don't expect that for you. I mean, you have guys like Joseph, or had guys like Joseph up to this point, and Guzan, but I mean, it was just so much that they could do. I mean, you have either one of them, you have Joseph up top, he wasn't going to be yelling at the guys on defense. Same thing with Brad Guzan. He's not going to be yelling at the guys on midfield. You got to have somebody in the middle who's going to step up essentially and just have everybody on their ass, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it right now in the World Cup, right? Like with guys like Modric. Of course, he's the best in the world at that position.
Yeah.
But it's such an intangible thing. Like people that watch the game, if you watch it casually, you may not notice that kind of like little nuance. But if you're down on the field, if you played the game before, having somebody in midfield that can literally orchestrate everything is such a big deal. I mean, and you can do it at center back position too, because especially for a team like Atlanta that likes to push their center backs up really high, you're getting involved in the game no matter what. You saw Miles do it a lot. You see Alan Franco do it a lot. But you need somebody that really knows the game and has a high soccer IQ. And I mean, this may free up a little bit of space to bring somebody like that in. You never know. But one thing I do want to point out too, just kind of switching gears, but it's still about this trade and the Derek Etienne Jr. trade as well. Everybody's kind of looked at Lagerwey coming in and kind of going like what Chris was saying, but some people, and we've talked about it on our show on the Twitter Spaces, but a lot of people are a little iffy because you have Garth Lagerwey coming in, and he even admitted like he can take time and be a little bit slow on trying to make changes, not necessarily to his detriment because they work out, but of course fans, everybody gets impatient and they want big splashy signings and they want them as soon as possible. But this to me is a sign that, you know, he is the new president. He's only been here for a couple of weeks. He didn't necessarily have a big say in any of this. This is probably already kind of in the works. But this is a signing that shows they're not just sitting around waiting and trying to, wait until the summer window. They're trying to go ahead and make moves happen right now, because George Campbell was a guy that I think pretty much anybody could agree, if he were to just fine tune a couple of things in his game in terms of, like, his inconsistency, and just kind of polishing things up a little bit, he was going to be a really, really good center back. I mean, he's a solid foundation already. In 3 years, roughly, Atlanta probably could have made a bunch of money on him. He probably would have moved somewhere, maybe even overseas. You never know. But Atlanta doesn't have that luxury right now, because Atlanta is in a situation where if they plan on making it to the top four, like Garth Lagerwey mentioned on the radio the other day, and some of the press conferences already, his goal is top four, home playoff game, which is great. You were never going to do that by keeping much of the same squad that you have now. There were some adjustments that needed to be made, and you have a great foundation with a lot of the guys that you've got now, but some things had to change. And this is a good sign that they're making that happen now. And they're not kind of sitting on their laurels and just waiting for more of the same stuff to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, it doesn't necessarily come down to him. I think that there was stuff that, probably since the middle of the season, you had Atlanta United sitting in the middle of the table, or probably lower. I don't remember exactly, but
You're struggling with relegation at one point.
yeah, more towards the end. But I mean, I think, yeah, like you're like I agree on that point, but going back somewhat to like what Chris mentioned, that he's gonna start cutting some dead weight. Yeah, I mean, eventually that's gonna happen, with the contracts that are coming up, like within the next 6 months, 12 months or so. I definitely think that there's, gonna be like the Rosettos, the Heinemans, the Barras, those type of contracts, where you're what 200, 500 for Rosetto. It's a lot of money for guys that are just not producing for the team, and you could literally find veterans that are going to be what 100K or probably lower.
Yeah, you got Dom Dwyer sitting on 85,000 right now.
Yeah,
so like, and Ozzy as well. I think Ozzy's the same. So it's not that you have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money for these guys, and they're not going to make a bunch salary wise. Not that they don't deserve it, but some of these guys that are coming up on the latter stages of their career, like, it's not so much about the money. You see that with guys like when Parkey and Lorenowitz were here. They are veterans that know the game, and they make an impact regardless of everything else going on around them with the front office kind of stuff, the salary stuff, all that.
Yeah. So, Chris was mentioning, when the front office announced that, they were going to be staying with Pineda. I mean, I'm pretty sure obviously it has to do something with, Lagerwey staying as well, or coming into Atlanta United as, the president and CEO, as a guy that they know each other basically pretty well. And I don't think that either way, whether it was somebody from Seattle or somebody else, I don't think that they were going to get rid of Pineda just like that. I mean, it's a guy that it was his first full year coaching, first team and all. And then you go back to, injuries, you go back to him, repeating only 3-4 times. If I don't remember, like the same starting 11 throughout the whole season. Yeah. I mean, it's stuff that you just don't throw out at a coach that has on his first year. Basically, it's not something that he's gonna just ball out. It's not Zinedine Zidane that he's gonna win 3 Champions Leagues in a row. I mean,
right.
Come on, give the guy a break.
And it's easy to get frustrated and blame him, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, the dude got thrown a whole bunch of curveballs, and because I think anybody that was at the first match last season against Sporting Kansas City, I think I think you were there. I think I was
Yeah, the
there.
first one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, man, you saw some really good stuff, and you think, all right, well, if we can string together a few of these, we're gonna be sitting all right. And then the injuries started happening. 20 minutes in with Arujo, and from there it was up and down. And I mean, it's hard. It is hard because chemistry is a big thing in this game. If you've never played the game, you might not understand how important it is. And again, we can draw parallels to the World Cup all day, but I mean, look at like Morocco. Morocco is a team that doesn't have the most talent on paper. I mean, they've got some solid talent, for sure. Got guys playing with PSG and others, but all around the level of talent on paper is not what some of these other, world beater, country teams have. But they play really well together and they have chemistry. And that was like that overshadows so much in this game.
I have Omar asking over here, was that Alger supposed to be the starter? I'm not sure which one he's asking about.
Are you talking about Luis Araujo?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Araujo, but like I'm not sure which game he's talking about that he was supposed to be the starter for. If it was the Kansas game that we were talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
he
not
started
sure.
that match, but then he scored that first goal and then he, blew his hamstring.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, Omar, if you want to kind of clarify that comment, but yeah, I mean, going back to Atlanta United, I mean, and then you have there was also some news with the broadcasting announced earlier today. The linear TV broadcast deals were announced. Apparently, there's going to be 34 regular season matches that are going to be broadcasted between or both on FS1 and Fox, and you're also going to have 8 playoff matches and MLS Cup for the next 4 years on those like those 2 channels that I mentioned, Fox and FS1. And then they said Univision will no longer be showing MLS matches, and they're gonna start showing Leagues Cup and the Leagues Cup final as well. And the one that is out the picture completely as of now, or at least for the upcoming years, is ESPN, which I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Kind of over ESPN at this point.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make this whole big thing like, oh, the sport wouldn't have grown without ESPN. And that might be true, but there was so much about ESPN that could have been done so much better that we probably wouldn't be having this conversation about Apple right now. Like ESPN really could have taken it and ran with it.
Good question here. Any leaks yet on the new home kit? Works been crazy lately, and haven't been able to keep up with the Reddit and Twitter lately. Chris,
That'll be the other news.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot about that. The AmFam Cup, which we're gonna be playing Toluca from Mexico, the Red Devils from Mexico.
On February 15th.
Yeah, it's gonna be at obviously in Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz. And if I'm not mistaken, right, that's gonna be the day that they're gonna be releasing the home kit.
Yep. So they're gonna have pretty much a full day. I'm assuming they may do some stuff like that whole week, kind of like they did with the AmFam Cup last year.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's going to be a bunch of stuff going up all the way until the game. And part of that's going to be the new kit release. So, I mean, you got to expect somebody's going to leak it a week or two ahead of time, like what happened with the Forest kit. But ultimately,
MLS Buzz.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy. But yeah, so but the actual day will be February 15th, and that'll be the first time we get to see Atlanta United back, I think, in 2023 as a whole.
Yeah. You think I'm pretty sure they're gonna have some friendlies before that.
Yeah. Who knows
Because
where?
season's supposed to start like late February, so yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll probably start having something by early February.
If they stay in line with everything that they've done the seasons, well, we should be getting the schedule any day now. But yeah, it would probably end up being that last week or so of February, and then from there it's just how many matches they play before the Leagues Cup starts in the middle of the summer.
Yeah,
because that's going to throw a wrench into things.
Yeah, how many and who you're playing? Because if you have the schedule that you had this year, which was pretty easy, honestly, in the beginning of the season, then you're like, all right, you have something to work with.
Yeah.
If it was how it was, 2 years ago, and I don't know how that's gonna turn out.
No, because I mean, the ones from 2021 was pushed back, COVID and everything, and they were trying to squeeze everything in. So 2022 was actually like a proper schedule, probably the way it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're going into 2023 where you're trying to fit in, the Leagues Cup. Obviously, the Open Cup is still happening. So there's going to be plenty of soccer to be played, but it's going to test the depth of these, especially the MLS teams.
Mm. And I mean, the last thing that I think that we have Atlanta United related is our boy Thiago Almada, man. He's gonna be in the World Cup final Sunday. That's crazy, man. The fact that this guy was just called up last minute. Just imagine what is going through this guy's head. Like, I'm not sure. I read something or I heard something online that he was at a dentist's office when he got called up.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? Like, I'm pretty sure he ran out of there with mouth numb and everything.
I know. He's sitting there listening to the radio or whatever, watching TV with freaking somebody working on his mouth. And the next thing, and that's the thing down there too, man. I mean, you know how it is in Argentina. That's not taken lightly. That's a big freaking deal. You saw the videos of him getting on the plane and all that. I don't know, man. It's just it's crazy because even before that, he only got called up to the international, the actual senior international team for the first time in September.
Yeah.
In that last friendly window. And so to go from that to suddenly being in the final of the World Cup, whether he plays or not, first active MLS player to ever be in a World Cup final. That's awesome. And everybody that said, "Oh, this isn't going to do anything for Thiago Almada's value," I'm sorry, but it's just making it harder and harder for Atlanta United to keep him.
Mean, technically, man. I just feel like today he honestly could have gone in. I mean, he threw you up by 65th minute or so, 70th minute. The guy could have easily came in. He came in against Poland in the group stage last game. I mean, he easily could have had that assist there. And you just know the guy has look. The guy got minutes before Paulo Dybala, a guy that is a freaking gem, quote unquote. Come on, man. You have to be realistic. The guy is just quality, pure quality.
To go on,
that just narrows it down.
Yeah, I mean, but to go on against like you said against Poland, and only played for what was it, 8 minutes or something, 10 minutes?
Yeah,
and to get that kind of chance, that really the only one that messed up that chance was actually Messi because he got in the way. And but it just shows he can walk on the pitch and just make a team better. I'm not saying he's the next superstar for Argentina because there's so many, but you can't deny his talent. You just can't. I mean, and to see him come on against Poland and do what he did just in that short amount of time, I would love to see him in the final. I don't know that unless they do something crazy and go up like they did today, because today I think the only reason you didn't see him again was because there was a couple of other Argentine players that haven't had minutes yet. And I think Lionel Scaloni wanted to put them on as well, just to kind of say, hey, now you've got some time as well. So if I'm not mistaken, I think everybody on the Argentine side has gotten some minutes at this point, almost. So maybe in that final, if things go really well for Argentina, maybe he does come on late. I hope.
Hey, man, that would, dude. I think Atlanta's not ready for him to come back home. Like the minute that guy steps off the plane, whenever he comes back to Atlanta with that Gold Cup final medal right there on his chest, dude. I don't know. That's gonna be like right there, side to side with MLS Cup.
That's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, dude, I know you told me you had a balance at night, so
yeah,
I'm not gonna take up any more of your time, dude. I mean, we're already pretty much like narrowed down, like, everything that we've had in the past week and a half or so, or ever since the last time that we were here. Tyler, as I said always, man, I appreciate you coming on here, chatting with just with me today,
Yeah,
hey, man, appreciate your time, man.
Squeeze a good little bit of info in, because like you said, when we haven't talked about that Etienne news, it's everything's kind of happening so crazy with the World Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And as I mentioned it before, you can follow Tyler on Twitter, Tyler on ATL Program. You could go check out his articles. Guys, just before I leave real quick, I'm gonna be changing up things, just, logo wise, just because there's been some things, with Fila going on lately. It's just kind of like a rebranding type of thing, sort of. But that, and like as I mentioned it a couple of weeks before, technically like 2 months before, I'm not sure, but we're gonna be doing the shows in Spanish, starting up next season. I'm not sure if this is gonna be me or I'm gonna be looking for somebody else, to do. Tyler, how's your Spanish, man? You speak Spanish?
Poquito, a little bit, not much, not enough to get on here and talk about it. I can carry on a conversation, but not enough to sit here and talk about soccer.
Yeah,
I wish I could. I'm working on it though.
Completely understandable, man. Yeah. No, but like I said, guys, I'll eventually be coming out with more information on that, and anything, if you have, any questions or anything, you can hit up Tyler, you can hit up me, you can hit up Tommy. I'm pretty sure any of us will give us any answers, when it comes to anything that you see online with, Atlanta United related stuff. So, all right, guys, we'll let you guys go, and thank you for being on here. For the ones that commented, Josh, what's up? Thank you for being on here, even though, hey, man, it's better being late than never, better showing up late than never, right? So
that's right.
All right, man. Tyler, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
All right, man.